Evil DM here, new podcast for today. Just wanted to talk a little bit about another topic I saw about on Facebook. It's not Facebook, on Twitter about a GM who was running a campaign, and he had a bunch of players who were like, I want to play this or I want to play that, after he laid out the rules of his world and his campaign world. And the players still insisted on playing a race that was not included in what the GM had laid out. I should say the DM, not the GM, had laid out for them. And the player made a big stink about wanting to play this race, and the DM said, no, that does not fit in my world. Now, I've done this plenty of times, and it gets into that whole argument, well, if the book allows it, and that's not fair, you're stifling a player. Well, you know what? It's the GM's, I keep saying GM because I'm in a GM mood right now. It is the Dungeon Master's world, his story, and his rules. He can decide what goes into the game and doesn't go, what is not allowed in the game. If he wants to have a world that's all human-based, he can have a world that's all human-based. It's up to him. He's running the game. He decides the rules. The book is a guideline. It is not the be-all, end-all. Wizards of the Coast or TSR from the past not going to come storming over to your house saying, excuse me, I noticed that you weren't allowing elves in your campaign. You know what? Fuck you. You want to go play something? Either you run the game yourself or go elsewhere. Luckily, this ended pretty well for this DM, and he told the player, no, that doesn't fit into my world and how my vision of it. And the player went, well, that's fine. I'm not playing. And he said, goodbye and good luck. This isn't the game for you. And then they split ways peacefully. A lot of times it doesn't happen that way. I've been in a public place playing games, and someone walks up to me playing this mega powerful, now I play old school, so it would be multi-class, mega powerful old multi-class character that I wouldn't even allow in my campaign because I don't allow multi-classing in my campaign. I also don't allow certain races in the campaign. I like to have a structured world the way I said it. I give people what is allowed and isn't allowed. In session 0, we discuss it. People play their characters and done. See, that's the difference between new school and new school versus old school players. A majority of the old school players are just like, all right, this is what it is. Cool, let's play. I want to do this. Fantasy, yeah, thumbs up. New school players are all about, well, you can't stifle my character creation ability. That's not right. The DM is not all be-and-all. Bullshit like that. So, just keep in mind, stand strong DMs out there. When it comes to your campaign, run it how you want to run it. And if somebody has a problem with that, you just tell them no. Run it yourself, or you can find a different group. That's basically how it works. And I noticed that a lot of older players are just like, all right, cool, whatever. While the younger kids are just all about arguing with you and trying to prove their point and get their way. Well, you're playing online. Just be civil about it. Explain up front why you have you're doing. I don't know if that doesn't make sense, but whatever. What you're doing, and move on from there. There's no need to argue about it. If a DM has his mind made up, don't argue. Just be like, all right, cool, and then you're out. No need to badmouth him. No need to go on Twitter and start talking shit about him. Just be like, yeah, all right, I'm out. That's what I do. I remember there were tons of games when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s when you walked inside a comic book store or a gaming store and there was a sign up that said, D&D this weekend, Saturday from 12 to 4. No power gamers. No this, no that. Make sure you're experienced. No newbies. Yeah, they had signs up that said no newbies back then as well. Have to be a certain age. Must be mature, things like that. And people were just like, they'd look at it and they'd be like, oh, I guess that game's not for me. And they moved on. Or like we did when I went to a comic book store when I was younger. We saw a sign for D&D and it said, no kids, no this, no that. We started our own game at the comic book store. We put up our own sign. We invited our own people. The other people didn't care because they did their thing. We did our thing. That's how people got along back then. They just did their thing and moved on. There was none of this outrage trying to get people on your side with megaphones and protesting bullshit. Anyway, DM, stand strong and continue to do your campaign the way you want to do it. DM out.